While claiming to be the sole member of his fighting unit, a nameless soldier is killed by Crayons. Hammer and Shark kill several people while they are attempting to flee. Takeo captures the objective as Tao briefs the group. The arrival of a new guard at the school surprises Tashiro and Manabu. From his office, Raizel and Frankenstein are observing the proceedings. In a flashback, M21 informs them about Jake and Mary as well as the Union. He is given a job opportunity by Frankenstein at his school. In the classroom, Raizel walks in and stops to observe Tashiro's performance. Frankenstein learns from Raizel that the kids have cell phones while he does not. Manabu shows Raizel how to operate his smartphone. In search of Tashiro, a group begins tormenting the students. Tashiro intervenes just before the leader is going to attack the janitor after breaking his broom. Because Tashiro made a move on his girlfriend, the man is upset. They were forced to run after M21 approached and attacked the man. Standing on the balcony, M21 thinks back on his past. The DA5 are deliberating their task of looking into Jake and Mary's deaths. Regis and Sarah, two vampires, approach M21 in front of the Yi-Ran High School gates. As the siblings come to the school to enroll, Frankenstein notices their noble aura. The teacher assigns Tashiro the task of making friends with the two after they introduce themselves to the entire class. As they all make their way to the cafeteria, Regis notices Ray's noble character. In the car, M21 and Frankenstein can be seen talking about Noblesse. Ray's residence is visited by Tashiro and his crew, surprising the principal. Regis doesn't like altered people who trade their humanity for power. Regis presses M21 on the events that occurred a month earlier. They start fighting after M21 queries whether the nobles are pursuing the coffin. Some thugs attack Tashiro and his pals and hold Raizel hostage by placing a knife to his throat. Tashiro fights the thugs while Manabu guides Sarah and Raizel to safety. As soon as the thugs leave, Sarah gives Tashiro his suitcase. While Regis and M21 argue about killing each other, the gang heads home. Regis cannot determine when Raizel responds to his brainwashing. Tao mentions that M21's and M24's whereabouts are unknown. If they are discovered, the team determines to capture them. When Tashiro discovers that Manabu is incredibly anxious to be with Regis rather than Sarah, he concludes that Manabu prefers boys to girls. While he is online, Manabu discovers someone attempting to breach the system and responds by unleashing a virus. Tao, who is performing the hacking. Then Tashiro thinks Manabu is conversing with a female. Tao obtains all the information he requires from the servers and discovers M21 on camera. The job of seizing M21 is then given to Hammer and Shark. Then, except for Raizel, Frankenstein issues a cleaning order for his residence. The following day, Frankenstein presents M21 with a card into which all of his pay will be placed. Hammer and Shark challenge M21. Shark deals a significant amount of damage to M21. When Cran shows up, he reprimands Shark for attempting to kill M21. M21 chooses to work with Crayons since it will allow him to find out his real name. Sarah tells Frankenstein that M21 left with his mates because he had some kind of mission. When M21 is questioned by DA5, he learns they were unaware of his betrayal of the Union. Crayons agrees to M21's condition that if he can find out more about him and his teammates, M21 will tell them everything they want to know. Tao sends Manabu a note inviting them to meet offline. Tashiro stands up for a foreigner, Takeo, who is being robbed. Takeo and Tao talk about Takeo's sister and Tao's potential quest for her. It is disclosed that Takeo is only on the team because his sister is being held captive by the Union. Takeo must stop Shark from killing M21 when he threatens to do so. Shark indicates that Takeo's sister has likely already been murdered by the Union. He then pursues Regis to kill any witnesses. Shark identifies Regis as the noble who fled after a conflict. Hammer then throws a transformational pill at Shark. Hammer invites Yashiro and Manabu to throw them by his feet as Regis is ready to defeat Shark. M21, who is keeping Tashiro, Manabu, and Regis hostage, is questioned by the DA5 and Crayons. In the meantime, Tashiro and Manabu awaken and realize Takeo and Tao are connected to the abductors. Sarah discusses the sense she and Regis share with Raizel and Frankenstein. Hammer welcomes Sarah to the DA5 building and uses tiny explosives to harm her. Sarah quickly avoids his blows and counterattacks with Hammer. Although Takeo tries to prevent Shark from hurting Tashiro, Crayons orders him to assist Hammer upstairs. Raizel is instructed to continue without him, and Frankenstein stays behind to take on Takeo. The two are engaged in a deadly duel with Takeo using a large box that is linked to his hand as a weapon. Some of their attacks cause damage to the building's roof due to their powerful abilities. Then, M21 stops Shark and engages him in combat using his abilities. Shark tries to fight with superhuman strength, but Regis breaks his chains and beats him with his abilities. Kranz consumes the tablet and gets great strength while also absorbing Shark's strength. Regis and he then continue the battle, which he eventually wins. When Takeo threatens to kill Raizel, Frankenstein unleashes a tremendous power surge to defend his master. In the meantime, Kranz is pinned to the ground by Raizel via mind control. To absorb Tao's abilities, Kranz commands Tao to consume a pill. Tao asserts that it is his destiny as an altered person. Manabu warns Tao against doing so and asks Raizel to help Tao because he is a buddy. Hammer is killed by Sarah after being seen avoiding her cannon. Takeo's defeat is also witnessed by Sira. Even without the drug, Kranz chokes Tao because he wants to take in his powers. Kranz is prevented from intervening to free Tao from Tao's grasp by Raizel. To kill Kranz, Raizel releases Bloodfield. After receiving therapy, Takeo is brought to Raizel's home. The best care is given to Tao and Takeo, who also receive food and a place to stay for the night. M21 is shown his true appearance by Raizel, who assures him that he is not weak. Raizel agrees when Frankenstein requests his permission to let Tao and Takeo stay. The girls are all intrigued by Raizel and grow to like Takeo and Tao, who has just started working as the school security very fast. When Manabu inquires about Tashiro's ideal woman in the canteen, Tashiro shows a glimmer of curiosity in Sarah. Tashiro might be in love with Sarah according to Manabu. The men begin to feel sorry for Tashiro when Sarah is mentioned. They look for approaches to asking a female out on a date, as Tashiro makes fun of Takeo's behavior. When they first meet, Takeo tries to teach him how to converse. They decide to seek assistance from their principal. When Tashiro inquires about Sarah's taste in men, Regis just states that Sarah hasn't mentioned any. Later, Rai uses mind control to get Regis to support Tashiro. The men assist Tashiro in crafting a love letter, and Tashiro subsequently displays his basketball prowess. Although Tashiro initially opposes having his memories erased, Rai eventually persuades him to agree. After having their memories erased, Manabu and Tashiro merrily make their way to school. Gejutel, the leader of Regis and Sira, visits Yiran High School. Gejutel appears incensed that Frankenstein is in charge of the school. Taup and Takeo are informed that Gejutel is Regis' grandfather. Gejutel tells Raizel that Raskria intends to exact revenge on him in the meantime. He explains that the nobleman's native Lukedonia has undergone some significant changes. Raskria thinks Raizel killed her father intentionally because she was a young lord out for vengeance. Raizel declines Gejutel's request for him to go back to Lukedonia. Frankenstein is tormenting some members of the Central Order of Knights in a flashback. At the Old Lord's court, Raizel is present when he makes the plea for him to join the clan. Raizel declined the invitation. Numerous knights try to stop Frankenstein, the noble hunter, but he hurts them all. Then he must battle the clan's two chiefs, Gejutel and Ragar. Ragar and Frankenstein engage in a brutal fight as they display their incredible strength, but Frankenstein escapes with only a slight wound, leaving bloody footprints on the ground. In Raizel's mansion, Frankenstein hides from his assailants. Gejutel tells Raizel that Frankenstein is invited to meet the Lord. By lying, Raizel refuses to send him. There is a flashback of a fight between Raizel and Frank 5 years prior, during which Raizel sustained facial injuries, but chose against killing Frank. Raizel is tasked by Gejutel to convince Frank to grant the Lord's request for an audience. Everyone dislikes Frank when he goes to the castle the following day. When they met, the Lord disparaged Raizel and spoke ill of him. Frank is advised by Gejutel not to worry about Raizel. Urokai decided to fight Frank to let the beast inside of him go and get Frank into trouble. After a protracted struggle, Frank lost control and came dangerously close to killing Urokai. Raizel and Frank fought, and although Raizel sustained facial injuries, he chose not to murder Frank. He connects with the inner Frank and converses with him after touching the monster's blood. They all eat dinner together in the present at Raizel's mansion. Regis was shocked to see the children enjoying kid-friendly games when they arrived at school the following day. A strong man manipulates them with mind control. He is recognized as Rael by Regis and Syria. Rael says he was alone in the dark for 10 years. The only thing that helped him get through it was to think of Syria. Takeo is perplexed that Regis was defeated so quickly. Syria declines Rael's invitation to accompany him despite his hand being extended. Regis expresses to Syria his distaste for Rael. Due to desire that Rael had hurt one of his employees, Frank decided to discipline Rael. Rael tried to kill Frank using a shadow cloning technique, but he was discovered. He was impaled by Frank's spikes, which caught him. After Rael showed them the instructions from their clan, head Syria intervened to stop them from continuing their fierce conflict. Syria decided to accompany Rael, and she delegated Regis' care to Frank. Syria left after being unable to decline the Lord's summons. Raizel traveling into the castle surprises Gijutel and Raskria Sama. In the meantime, Syria has returned to the castle after receiving orders from Rael. Lord asks Syria whether she has spoken to the man who was in the casket using her influence on her heart. Rael attempts to stand up for her. Regis, Frank, and Raizel are currently flying on a private plane. Carius is concerned about the imprisonment of 2 clan leaders at the castle. The nobles are informed that a human-made aircraft has crashed into the Lukedonian Sea. Regis, Frank, and Raizel have all leaped off the crash jet. Regis lost contact with Frank and Raizel before becoming encircled by the knights. When Takeo Tao and M21 arrive, they say they are here to help. Carius asks Raizel if he is interested in the position of the Lord when they first meet. When Raskria heard the selection, she ran away and questioned why Raizel was selected over her. When she discovers Raizel has invaded her kingdom, she commands the nobles to take them into custody. Regis and M21 are traveling to the mountaintop castle. When Syria met Rosaria, she instructed her to return to her cell. Rosaria rebutted Syria's claim that she must prevent Gijutel from falling into an eternal slumber. Rosaria became enraged and sent a strong blast that was stopped. Syria and others desire to save Gijutel at all costs from the aristocrats' execution plans. Regis is instructed to leave by M21, who will deal with the disrespectful Rael. Rael is surprised as M21 attacks him with his steel nails and causes him to bleed. Gijutel asks the Lord whether she intends to put Syria into an endless sleep inside the castle. Gijutel claimed that it wouldn't happen while Frank was still alive, but Lord claims that she will even put Raizel to death. As Syria is taken prisoner, Lord becomes enraged and calls a soul weapon with the intent of cutting Gijutel's head off. Before she can cut him off, Raizel appears through the door. The young noble commanders go in to prevent Raizel once she has entered, but are easily overcome. Raskria desires a duel with Raizel. Raskria gains an understanding of the value of not being alone, and they then win the conflict. Raizel uses his abilities to surprise others by controlling their minds. Raizel repels Raskiria's onslaught after she builds a blood field. The other Lord's soul weapon is destroyed by Raizel. The previous Lord then arrives and delivers a speech of inspiration as the 2 weapons unite. In the meantime, Regis and the other man enter and beg for Gijutel's life to be spared. Gijutel declares he will serve Raskria his entire life when she agrees to release him. Raskria receives the 2 swords in combination from the Lord, who then vanishes.